All right, we're getting started. I will keep Socrative turned on for a little bit in case you are still typing in. I know we ran out of Chromebooks, so. Just to give you guys a heads up, we're going to have lessons all this week, and then next week we will start review and test and stuff.
See that?
Saw that, right? Alright, so make sure you guys have headphones out.
Let me get them good headphones.
Hey! Alright. After the lesson,
I already asked.
so we are going to get started here, so make sure you got headphones put away and turn off YouTube. Yep, or YouTubes. So we are learning another method for solving equations. And what we're learning today is called completing the square. So make sure you guys follow along, take notes, because you're going to do a notebook check next week. It'll be worth points.
A notebook check? Are you kidding me? I don't have my notebook. Be active, bro.
Save those. Next week.
Oh, last Friday?
For the what? What is that? What is that?
C equals 0.
I'm being really racist.
Alright, so to start off with, we are going to look at x squared minus 16x. And we're not going to factor it yet. Hey, get started. Come on. Come on, focus guys. I know it's Monday, but focus. We are going to rewrite x squared minus 16x so that it can be factored. And to do that, we need to look at, we can only factor quadratics that have a, b, and c. We did in-middle factoring for our warm-up, which is what times what is c, adds up to b, right? So we need an a, and a b, and a c. So, I'm going to have to figure out a c I can put in my x squared minus 16x. And we actually have kind of a nice formula for that. We have our c equals b divided by 2 squared.
I have a feeling we already done.
No.
0.
Yeah, this one's
Are you sure, Mr. Goku?
They just look like the rest.
I'm positive.
No, I'm really
So,
feeling like
we are going to find the c, and it's going to be b divided by 2 squared. So, if I'm going to find my c on this x squared minus 16x, alright, hush, I have to tell somebody to be quiet again and strike. No more warnings.
Yeah,
Okay. So, on this problem, my b is, I got to be careful, it's not just 16, it's negative 16. So, I'm going to fill in negative 16 in for b. And when I go through this, I am not going to skip steps, even though you guys could probably do negative 16 divided by 2 in your head. I'm not going to skip that step. And that'll be important later on. So for right now, it's going to be a little extra work, but later on, it'll be important not to skip these steps. So I'm going to go negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. I solved this squared. Negative 8 squared is a positive 64. So the c I am going to add on is 64. And when I add this c on, I'm going to put this c in here, so that way I have an a, a b, and a c. So I'm going to have an x squared minus 16x plus 64. But, Najai, if I add 64 to the left, what do I need to do on the right? I need to add 64 on the right side. So it equals 0 up here, right? So I'm going to do, and I should have equals 0 right here. So I'm also going to add 64 over here and get equals 64. Which is fine. As long as I do whatever I did on the left on the right, it's fine. I can do that. So now that I've done this part, Luis and Greg,
Yeah.
So now that I've done this, I can go through and I can factor. I could say what times what is 64 and adds up to the one in the middle, which is negative 16. We're not going to go through and finish it off right now. Not right now. We're going to do that later. Right now we are just going to practice finding this c. So we're going to do that here on this next one. We're going to rewrite x squared minus 4x equals 0 into squared form. The squared form is when you add that c to both sides. So I'm going to have to find the c here. So my formula is b divided by 2 squared. So in this, b is not just 4, negative 4. So I'm going to go negative 4 divided by 2 squared. And I'm not going to skip steps, which you'll see why in 5 minutes or so. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2 squared, which is positive 4. So I'm going to add positive 4 to both sides. So I'm going to go x squared minus 4x plus 4, because I'm adding that in as a c, and it's going to equal 0 plus 4, which is 4. And we're not doing it yet, but eventually we're going to go through and factor this. Say what times what is 4 adds up to negative 4. And we're going to go through like that.
Wait, what times what?
Yeah, what times what equals 4 and adds up to negative 4. In middle factoring, just like we did in the middle. We are not doing that yet, just because we are practicing finding the c. That'll be our next step. Good question, Steve? Like right here. A negative 4 was already a problem, right? And you see how I did the b divided by 2 squared? Negative 2 squared, positive 4. I added that in as a new c. So I added it in. So that's what this formula right here. Alright, let's do one more. You guys will help me out with this one a little bit. So on this one, we're going to do our b divided by 2 squared. Jace, what's b?
6.
And is it positive or negative?
Positive?
Positive. The other ones were negative because it was a minus 4, and I think the first one was like a minus 16.
Oh.
This one's positive because it's plus 6. Okay, we're going to go through and do 6 divided by 2, which is 3. I know you can do that in your head, but we're not going to skip that step, and you're going to see why after this slide. And then we're going to go through 3 squared is 9. And then we have to take that 9, and we're going to add it in as a new c. But if I add it on the left, I got to add it on the right. So I'm going to go x squared plus 6x plus 9, and it's going to equal, I added it on the right side, it's going to equal 9. Alright, first in class problem, I want you to rewrite x squared minus 24x in squared form, which is the thing we just did. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to add a new c. So this was a c we found, right? That's just part of the formula. It's b divided by 2 squared. Yeah, it will always be divided by 2. So on this one, get your b, which is? Yep.
I don't even know. I think I did it wrong.
Squares? Is it always
Yep, it'll always be the
Did I
square.
do that wrong?
Nope.
And then do I have to find
Oh,
what that
well, I
is?
did it pretty fast.
It's not too bad, this first part. It's the whole thing really isn't that bad, as long as you remember a few things. Yeah.
Can I see a squid?
And it's an octopus.
Can I see an octopus?
No.
Ah!
So would it be negative 12?
Alright, I'll give you about 30 more seconds.
Okay. Then what do I do? Do this
What's
one?
negative 12 squared? Yep.
No, it's actually really
And
good.
then
Not anymore.
how much is it?
I was homeless.
Careful. When you do that square, put it in parentheses like you see it. There you go.
Not at all.
I did it. Did I do it?
Nothing!
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I did golfing.
Okay, do that.
You can't be too close if you want to do that voice call.
That, bring that down.
You're minus 20. Alright, we're going to go over this one.
Why is algebra 2 stuff in
So Magi, start us off. What's my formula going to look like after I fill in my B?
After you fill in your what?
After you fill in the B.
After start filling the B,
Yep.
oh, it's gonna look like negative 24 over 2.
And then is
Yep.
I made my knuckles dry.
Parentheses and square.
Yep.
it?
We're going through it right now. Alright, so we get negative 24 over 2 squared, right? Moses, turn it off. Not during the lesson. You're good once we're done. What are we doing next now?
You are squaring.
Divided by 2 first.
Oh, yeah.
Don't skip this step and you'll see why in the next
Pay
one.
attention.
So we're going to get negative 12, and then we square it. And what do we get, Gabe? 144. And don't forget, that is a positive 144. Because negative 12 squared is a positive.
All
Alright.
touching each other.
Wait, okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So,
Stop.
okay, when I
Say hi to me.
wait, we're not even there. Never mind. I'll ask you when we're there.
Alright. Elise, what are we doing next?
You're dumb.
What?
Yeah. We gotta put it on both sides, right? Okay. Yep.
Okay. Before you say anything, Junior,
Ow!
when it equals the answer, is that always gonna be like, you know what?
Like, is it always gonna equal whatever this is?
Yeah.
For today, yes. I believe so for today. Tomorrow, no. But today, yes. Okay. All right, pretty good. So we put this in our factored form, and we get x squared minus 24x plus 144 equals 144.
Rewrite left side into square form. Add the c
I don't think
to the
Beto
right
has to
side.
be like.
So.
Come on, man. We got.
No, he's gonna wake up and instantly.
Okay. So we're gonna go through, and we're gonna actually start solving these now.
Just test it. And somehow he's gonna get a better score.
He's off, he's
Every
off.
single time.
Oh, that's right. I was actually wrong. Actually, I won't always equal the other side. Yeah, you'll actually see right now.
We're gonna get St. Catherine.
Okay. So we're gonna find the solutions of the equation x squared plus 6x equals 216. Remember, I'm giving out strikes. Ruben, what's one of the things I talked about today in the recording? You say somebody's name after I tell them to be quiet.
Oh, that's soft as soon as
Let him
gold.
learn his lesson.
Do it again, strike. Okay,
Hear him.
so we're gonna take both you guys. What's annoying me now? We're gonna take x squared plus 6x, and we're gonna find the c. So I'm gonna go 6 divided by 2 squared, which is gonna be 3 squared, which is really 9, right? Okay, I'm gonna add this 9 to both sides. But on this one, it equals 216, right? So when I add 9 to the right side, it's not gonna be 9. It's gonna be 216 plus 9. So I'm gonna go x squared plus 6x plus 9, and it's gonna equal, we're gonna add it over here to the 216. 216 plus 9 is 225. Just 225.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now this problem is a lot like our warm-up. So we're actually going to do it the long way first, and then I'll show you guys the shortcut on the next problem. So, we're going to look at this. We're going to end middle factor this, and I want to know what times what equals 9 and adds up to the number in the middle, which is 6.
Oh.
What is it, Jason? 3 times 3, right? 3 times 3 is 9.
Heck of smart.
3 plus 3 is 6. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to make my parentheses here like this. And I'm going to have an x plus 3, another x plus 3, and it's going to equal 225. Now, before, when this equals 0, we could just look at each thing and be like, oh, you plug in negative whatever, like negative 3, and you get 0. When it's not 0, we can't do that. I can't go like x plus 3 equals 225 and solve it, I'll get a wrong answer. That only works when it's 0, so I can't do this. So, we're going to have to go through and look at this. So when I go through on this, let's see if... So I have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3, right? Let me kind of go on a side thing here. If I had a 2 times 2, that's the same thing as 2 squared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
X
you're going like
times x equals x squared, right?
I'm doing it. Can
So
you?
what do you think x plus 3 times x plus 3 is?
H squared plus
X plus 3
9.
squared.
X plus 3 squared. It would be x plus 3 squared
I'm doing it.
equals 225.
No,
Place.
they're going in.
Just kidding.
Okay. So, because they're in the exact same parentheses, we can just make it into a squared like this. And once I've done this, now we can solve for x. Before, we couldn't solve for x because it didn't equal 0. But after I put it in a thing like this, now it doesn't matter. Now I can just solve it. So, I'm going to go through and we're doing Pimsas backwards. You guys have actually done these before. This was like our
Yeah.
second lesson, I think. Section 2 or something.
Sad man.
Yeah, the sad myth.
Do you have a place of thumbsticks?
Okay, Ashlyn, what's the first thing I should do to solve this?
3 squared? I don't know.
How do I get rid of the square?
I don't know.
We're going to square root it. So because I have parentheses, and then I have my exponent on the outside, I'm going to save the parentheses for last, and I got to get rid of the exponent. So to get rid of the exponent of 2, I square root it. Which means I'm going to square root the right side over here. And I'm going to get an x plus 3, and it's going to equal, Lily, since you got decimals there, what is the square root of 25?
15.
What?
15.
15? Alright, so we get 15, but we actually have something else, which we talked about before. Whenever you square root something, and I made the square root myself, right? I have more than just 15. Remember, Kinsey?
Yes.
What else do I have? I don't have just 15, I have something else.
Squared.
What do you mean?
2.
You say 2?
What? I don't know.
Just kidding. 3. Just kidding.
No. We also have
25.
negative 15.
Oh.
I made that square root myself, so I pulled. I need
27. I was waiting for them to say
Put
it.
it up for sure, boy.
Please, come on.
I need a lot of things.
What can I help you with as of right now?
I need a lot of things.
No. I need one of those.
I was waiting for you to say Oh no, it's gonna be. Dude, you don't even know.
Alright, so I have 15 and negative 15. Okay? And then I still have to go through and keep solving Reuben. What do I need to do to get rid of that plus 3? Right here. Oh. Minus 3 on both sides. But when I'm minus 3, remember, we did this before. I have a minus 3 everywhere. I got a minus 3 right there, and I got a minus 3 right there. So I'm going to get x equals 15 minus 3 is 12. Negative 15 minus 3 is negative 18. Alright. So we solved this problem. That's our final answer right here. X equals 12 and
Why are we
negative
doing
18.
such a long problem?
Can we have like
Well,
3 problems?
Remember how I told you this was the long way? We're going to learn a shortcut.
Oh,
See, you gotta do the long way first so you appreciate the shortcut.
Or you could just give it a shortcut.
No. So, there's actually a way. We are going to go through, and I'm going to show you the shortcut, where we are going to go from this step right here, and we're going to skip all the way down to this step. So we can actually skip this entire middle piece.
That's the easy part.
So I'll show you.
Exactly.
Okay, so on this one right here, we're going to go through and I'm going to show you the shortcut. So to start off with, I'm going to do completing the square, find that new c, just like we've done the whole time so far. So I'm going to go negative 6 divided by 2 squared. And here is where you're going to see why we don't skip this step. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3 squared, which is a positive 9. And we're going to add that in as c, and we're going to add it to the right side. So we go t squared minus 6t plus 9, because that's my new c. And it's going to equal 247 plus 9 is 256. It's 256.
Oh, that's a T, not a 2. Silly me.
Alright,
Silly.
so here is our shortcut. So let me go back to this other slide real quick. Actually, wait, once everybody's done. You got this one, Ruben?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll give you a second. I'll let you copy this all down first.
Oh, I already used it.
Go get an idiot's restroom.
Well, we'll be done in a few minutes.
My little arm.
Alright, you got it, Ruben?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so on this first one we did, we got an x plus 3 in parentheses right here, right? Didn't we get a 3 right here?
I was like,
Yeah.
barely.
So,
And then they go.
we're going to skip down to this parentheses.
All I gotta do is
So I'm going to skip down to this part with the parentheses. And I'm going to start with the variable t, because my variables are t. So this is your shortcut. After you find the c, you got it to both sides, right? You get t squared minus 16 plus 9 equals 256. And you add 9 to both sides. We can skip ahead to this parenthesis. And the thing that's going to be next to the t is whatever you had right here. I did negative 6 divided by 2 and got negative 3. I'm going to have a negative 3 right there. And then you're going to square root it, and you'll end up adding 3 to everything. So this is your shortcut. And I'll say it one more time because I don't think everybody was paying attention. So after you find this line right here, where you added c to both sides, you skip down to this piece right here, and you write down everything in purple. The parentheses, the squared, what it equals, and then inside it's the variable, and then whatever this parenthesis right here was. That's why we didn't skip it. Because this parenthesis right here is exactly the same thing it's going to be right here. So I didn't skip it, just so I knew what went there.
What's the square root of 2?
That's not defined.
No, my head's good.
It's not defined.
I got this. What is it, James?
What?
What's the square root of 2?
All right.
Oh.
Now that we did our shortcut, we can go through and solve. And I'll give you a hint, you're always going to square root it. You're always going to start off by square rooting.
Checking my work.
So we're going to square root both sides, and we're going to get t minus 3 equals, you said it was 16, Jason?
Yeah.
But it's not just 16, what else is there?
A negative.
Negative 16. And now I just have one last step, I got to add 3 to both sides. But, alright, I guess I should say, not just to both sides, but everywhere. So I'm going to get t equals 16 plus 3 is 19. Negative 16 plus 3 is negative 13. Actually, I think we're going to do this next one together.
Oh,
This
what?
next one. Well, and then you do the activity. Alright, so that's it. So on these, you could do it the long way, but the long way is kind of annoying. So it's better to use your shortcut. So let's go through, let's actually do this one together, and then you guys will practice on the exit ticket. But you guys are going to help me out. So, Luis, what was the first thing we did on these problems? Find the C, right? So it's going to be C equals, what's going to be in this first parenthesis? Just 8. Yeah. 8 divided by 2 squared, right? Okay. Let's go through. Kinsey, what's 8 divided by 2?
I just put ice in my mouth.
Well, you could say that, so you're probably fine. What's 8 divided by 2? Yep. We get 4. And 4 squared is what, Ashley? What? Did you say 8?
No.
Because that's 4 times 2.
No, I did not say
Oh, okay, what's 4 squared?
16.
16. Okay, it's going to equal 16. Jace, what do we do with the 16?
You're gonna do,
We're going to what?
like what we.
I need to look at my.
Okay, I'm going to add, subtract, multiply, divide.
What step are we on?
Oh.
With,
Sad map.
You're gonna rewrite the problem
with,
with x squared
yep.
plus
So is this the second step?
plus
Yeah.
8x.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then,
Plus 16.
yep. And what's it going to equal? Okay.
9.
we have to add, don't forget, we gotta add the 16 to this side also.
Do
Yeah, so it'll be 9 plus 16,
Oh.
which is, what's 10 plus 16? Okay, do you need help there, Dave? What's 10 plus 16?
10 plus 16 is 26.
Okay, minus 1, because 9 is 1 lower than 10, it's 25.
Jason told you 27 minus 2.
Alright,
22, you said 27.
Minus 2.
okay, so we got this set up, so we're going to go through and we're going to use our shortcut, which says we're going to have a parentheses, a squared, it's going to equal 25, like before. X is going to go in there because it's just the variable we're using. And Ruben, what's going to go in here next to this X?
With the
What did we say in our shortcut? What goes in there?
I mean, I'm looking at the
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, the lower one, this one.
So it'd be.
X plus 4. So, remember,
I know what to do.
this piece right here in the parenthesis, that kind of the very second thing we did, is going to go here for our shortcut. But we still have to go through and solve it. So, Alzaya, what's the first thing to do to solve it? Let her answer. Magi,
Just trying to help.
I don't think I'm going to let you use my headphones. You can borrow from a friend, but not mine.
yeah, I knew he was gonna point out.
Yeah, you square root
We square root it. So we're going to square root it on both sides. And we're going to get an x plus 4. And it's going to equal, Magi, what's the square root of 25?
5.
But, Adelia, I can't forget, I don't have just 5. What else do I have?
You got.
Minus 5. Or negative 5, same thing. Yep. Alright, and then Ivory, what do I do after that?
Oh, heck.
Minus 4.
Okay. We're going to minus 4 on both, and not just on both sides. I keep saying both sides, but I mean everything.
We get you. We feel you. We feel your vibe.
That sounds super awkward. Okay, we're going to keep going. 5 minus 4 is 1. Negative 5 minus 4, negative 9. These are our two answers. We need them both.
I get this. You don't distract me.
Me?
Yeah, you do. I should. Never mind, see, I thought this.
Alright, that is it.
Bro, that's white word.
So, we are going to go straight to the exit ticket. I had that as an in-class problem, but I wanted to go through it again to make sure you guys had it. You guys did pretty good.
May use
So-
restroom now.
I didn't.
So, your exit ticket is on here. I'll turn on Creative in just a second. Put your homework on Google Classroom. You guys have the rest of class to work on this.
Is that Sunridge? Pretty sure we
No,
did that Sunridge.